What if I told you that a British boxer once captured the hearts of millions not only with his incredible talent in the ring but also with his inspiring story of resilience? Meet Frank Bruno, a heavyweight champion whose journey is marked by both triumph and turmoil. From his humble beginnings in London to facing off against the greatest fighters of his era, Bruno's life embodies the spirit of perseverance and redemption. His tale is one of electrifying highs and devastating lows, a roller coaster of emotions that takes us through the gritty streets of his youth, the roaring crowds of packed arenas, and the personal battles that shaped him into more than just a fighter. This is the story of a man who refused to stay down, no matter how hard life hit him. So, stick around as we unravel the remarkable journey of Frank Bruno and discover what truly made him a legend in the boxing world. Frank Bruno was born on November 16, 1961, in Hammersmith, London, a bustling district where the pulse of the city never seemed to slow. He came into the world as the son of parents of West Indian descent, part of a tight-knit family that knew the meaning of struggle. Growing up in inner-city London wasn't easy. Life there was tough, raw, and unforgiving. As a child, Bruno often found himself clashing with the rules and expectations around him. Teachers saw him as a troublemaker, a restless kid who couldn't sit still or follow the straight and narrow path they tried to set for him. That label stuck to him like glue through his early years, painting a picture of a boy who was always on the edge of trouble. But beneath that rebellious streak was something deeper, a young soul searching for a way to break free, a kid desperate for an outlet to pour his energy into. That outlet came when Bruno was just 9 years old. While other children were still chasing each other around playgrounds or kicking balls in the street, he stumbled into the local boxing scene at the Wandsworth Boys Club. It was a revelation. Boxing wasn't just a game or a hobby for him, it became his lifeline, his escape from the chaos of the world outside. The moment he stepped into that gym, something clicked. The sharp smell of sweat, the rhythmic thud of gloves against pads, the barked instructions from trainers, it all spoke to him in a way nothing else ever had. Here was a place where his restless spirit could thrive, where his frustrations could be unleashed in a controlled, productive way. The discipline of boxing gave Bruno something he hadn't found anywhere else: structure. It was a world of rules and routines, of hard work and focus, and he took to it like a fish to water. Under the watchful eyes of seasoned trainers, he began to learn the ropes, how to move his feet, how to throw a punch, how to take a hit and keep going. Those early days in the gym were about more than just learning a sport, they were about building a foundation. The Wandsworth Boys Club became his sanctuary, a place where the pressures of life melted away, where he could focus entirely on shaping himself into something stronger, something better. Even at that young age, Bruno showed a spark that set him apart. He had a natural power in his fists, a raw strength that hinted at the potential within him. But it wasn't just about talent, it was about grit. He poured himself into training, spending countless hours perfecting his technique, pushing through grueling sessions that left him exhausted but hungry for more. Sparring matches tested his limits, but they also sharpened his skills, teaching him how to read an opponent, how to adapt, how to endure. Slowly but surely, that troubled kid from Hammersmith started to transform into a force to be reckoned with. His early successes in amateur competitions only fueled the fire. Each win was a small victory, a sign that he was on the right path. People began to notice him, a big, strong lad with a punch that could rattle your bones and a determination that wouldn't quit. His reputation grew, whispers spreading through the local boxing circles about this young fighter who seemed destined for something bigger. But it wasn't just his skill that carried him forward, it was the support of his family, too. They didn't have much in the way of money or resources, but they gave him something far more valuable: love and belief. His mother, especially, was a rock for him. She'd pull him aside and remind him to keep his feet on the ground, to never forget where he came from, no matter how high he climbed. That grounding influence shaped him, molding him into a man who understood the value of hard work and humility. By the time he hit his teenage years, it was clear that boxing wasn't just a phase for Frank Bruno, it was his calling. The journey from a troubled youth to a promising amateur boxer wasn't a straight line, it was a winding road full of bumps and detours. But every step along the way built the foundation for what was to come. With hope in his heart, challenges on the horizon, and an unbreakable spirit starting to shine through, Bruno was ready to take on the world. His story was just beginning, and it was already one that would inspire anyone who heard it. When Bruno stepped into the amateur ring as a serious contender, his life took a dramatic turn. He was a big kid, tall, broad, with a presence that filled the room, but it was his dedication that really made him stand out. By the age of 18, that hard work paid off in a way no one could have predicted. He became the youngest British amateur champion ever, walking away with an incredible record of 20 wins and just 1 loss. It was a stunning achievement for someone so young, a moment that marked him as a rising star in the boxing world. That title wasn't just a trophy to put on a shelf, it was proof that Bruno had what it took to compete with the best. In those amateur years, Bruno was a force of nature. His large frame gave him an edge, but it was his powerful punches that turned heads. He didn't just win matches, he dominated them, leaving opponents reeling and spectators buzzing with excitement. Coaches and promoters started to take notice, whispering about this kid from London who seemed to have the raw materials to go all the way. The amateur scene was his proving ground, a place where he sharpened his skills and built the confidence he'd need for the next step. Every fight was a lesson, every victory a thrill that pushed him closer to his dreams. The intensity of those amateur days shaped more than just his fighting style, it shaped his character. Boxing taught him discipline, how to push through pain and exhaustion, how to stay calm under pressure. It taught him resilience, too, how to get back up when life knocked him down. And it instilled in him a sense of sportsmanship, a respect for the game and the people who played it. Those qualities became the bedrock of who Frank Bruno was, both as a fighter and as a man. Standing on that podium, clutching his championship trophy, he could feel the weight of his accomplishments, and the promise of what lay ahead. The amateur world had given him a taste of greatness, and now he was hungry for more. That success set the stage for his leap into the professional ranks. The transition wasn't just a career move, it was a bold step toward his ultimate goal, becoming a world champion. With momentum building and the boxing world starting to pay attention, Frank Bruno was ready to make his mark on a bigger stage. His amateur days were behind him, but they'd given him the tools he needed to chase his destiny. The journey was about to get a whole lot wilder, and Bruno was stepping into it with everything he had. When Frank Bruno turned pro and stepped into the ring as a paid fighter, he brought something special with him, knockout power that could stop you in your tracks. Fans loved it, they'd packed the stands, hearts pounding, waiting for that moment when Bruno would unleash his famous right hand. It wasn't just strong, it was devastating, a thunderbolt that could end a fight in the blink of an eye. His early professional career was nothing short of spectacular. He blasted through his first 21 opponents, knocking them all out, most of them before the fight even hit the halfway mark. It was a streak that turned heads and got people talking. Every punch he landed was a statement, a reminder of the talent and dedication he'd poured into his craft. The excitement around Bruno was electric. Each bout felt like an event, a chance to see something extraordinary. Commentators would hype up his power, fans would cheer wildly, and opponents would step into the ring knowing they were up against a man who could change their night with one swing. One of his standout early fights came against Joe Bugner, a grizzled veteran with a reputation as a heavy hitter himself. Bruno didn't just beat him, he stopped him in 5 rounds, sending a jolt through the boxing community. That win wasn't just another notch on his belt, it was a declaration. Frank Bruno was here, and he was a serious contender. As his career rolled on, his knockout ability took on an almost legendary status. People started calling him the British Mike Tyson, a nod to his ferocious style and the way he tore through the heavyweight division. Fans lived for that moment when he'd land the big one, the punch that would leave his opponent flat on the canvas. The media ate it up, too, feeding the hype and building him into a larger-than-life figure. But behind the knockouts was a fighter who knew it took more than brute strength to win. Bruno trained relentlessly, sharpening his technique, building his stamina, keeping his mind sharp. That power was a gift, but it was his discipline that made it a weapon. Still, there was a flip side to all that glory. Bruno's knockout streak made him a star, but it also raised the stakes. Everyone wanted to know, could he turn that raw power into a world title? The numbers on his record were dazzling, but in boxing, true greatness isn't just about how many you knock out, it's about who you beat and what you win. With every thunderous victory, the pressure grew, and the ultimate prize, the heavyweight crown, remained just out of reach. The road ahead was going to test him in ways he couldn't yet imagine, but for now, Frank Bruno was riding high, a knockout artist with the world at his feet. Every champion's path has its share of stumbles, and Frank Bruno's was no different. In 1984, he hit a wall when he stepped into the ring with Larry Holmes, the reigning WBC champion. Bruno came in riding his knockout wave, backed by a tidal wave of support from fans who believed he could pull off the upset. But Holmes was a different beast, seasoned, crafty, and tough as nails. The fight didn't go Bruno's way. He lost by decision, a bitter pill that left people wondering if he had the heart to go the distance against the elite. It was his first big setback, a moment that could have broken a lesser man. But Bruno wasn't done. He took that loss and turned it into fuel. He got back in the gym, back in the ring, and started winning again, 6 fights in a row, each one a step toward rebuilding what he'd lost. One of those victories came against Tony Tucker, a tough customer who tested Bruno's resolve. He didn't just win, he shone, proving to the doubters that he wasn't a flash in the pan. That resilience, that ability to bounce back, became the heartbeat of his career. Every punch he threw in those comeback fights was a message, Frank Bruno wasn't going anywhere. That grit earned him another shot at glory, this time against WBA world champion Tim Witherspoon in 1986. The build-up was huge, fans were buzzing, the boxing world was watching, and Bruno was ready. He'd learned from his past, grown as a fighter, and now he had a chance to grab the title he'd been chasing. The fight was a war, a showcase of everything Bruno had built himself into. He threw bombs, took hits, and kept coming. The crowd could feel it, this was his moment. Even when the odds looked grim, he dug deep, showing the kind of heart that turns fighters into legends. That fight, win or lose, was a testament to his spirit, a chapter that set the stage for even bigger battles to come. After dusting himself off from earlier defeats, Bruno's hunger for the top spot only grew stronger. He racked up 6 straight wins, each one a brick in the wall he was building toward another title shot. By 1986, the stars aligned, and he got his chance against Tim Witherspoon for the WBA crown. This wasn't just another fight, it was a showdown that had everyone talking. Witherspoon was a technician, a champion with a sharp mind and a solid game plan. Bruno, on the other hand, was the powerhouse, the man with the punch that could end it all. The clash of styles promised fireworks, and the question on everyone's lips was simple, could Frank finally do it? The night of the fight was electric. Bruno walked out to a roaring crowd, his eyes locked on the prize. He wasn't the same fighter who'd faced Holmes years before, he was sharper, stronger, more seasoned. The early rounds were tense, a chess match with gloves. Bruno used his size, his power, his heart, trying to impose his will on Witherspoon. You could see it in his stance, in every jab he threw, he wasn't just fighting to win, he was fighting to prove something. The arena pulsed with energy, fans hanging on every moment, waiting for that one big shot. Then came the twist. Witherspoon, cool and collected, started to turn the tide. He adjusted, found his rhythm, and suddenly Bruno was on the ropes, literally and figuratively. The fight hung in the balance, a seesaw battle that could tip either way. Bruno pushed back, summoning every ounce of strength he had, but Witherspoon's experience was a mountain to climb. The suspense was unbearable, the outcome uncertain right up to the end. When the final bell rang, Bruno had given everything, but the title slipped through his fingers again. It was a crushing blow, but it wasn't the end. Fate had more in store, and Bruno's story was far from finished. If there's one fight that defines Frank Bruno's career, it's his clash with Mike Tyson on February 25, 1989. This wasn't just a boxing match, it was an event, a collision of giants that gripped the world. Tyson was the undisputed heavyweight king, a whirlwind of speed and destruction. Bruno, fresh off his winning streak, was the hometown hero with the power to shake mountains. Fans packed the stands and millions tuned in, all wondering if Bruno could pull off the impossible and topple the unbeatable Tyson. The opening bell rang, and the air crackled with tension. Bruno came out strong, using his height and reach, trying to keep Tyson at bay. He landed some solid shots, showing the bravery that had carried him this far. But Tyson was a different animal. He closed the distance fast, unleashing a storm of punches that rocked Bruno early. 2 knockdowns in the first round sent a clear message: this was Tyson's ring. Bruno fought back, clawing his way through the onslaught, but Tyson's speed and precision were relentless. By the 3rd round, it was over. A vicious uppercut dropped Bruno for good, and Tyson walked away still the champ. The loss hit hard. Critics pounced, fans mourned, and questions swirled about what was next. But Bruno didn't let it define him. That fight with Tyson wasn't the end of his story, it was a turning point. He picked himself up, dusted off the disappointment, and kept going. The defeat only stoked his fire, pushing him to prove he could rise again. It was a brutal lesson in the unforgiving nature of boxing, but it also showed the world what Bruno was made of. His journey from that night became a saga of redemption, a testament to the heart of a fighter who wouldn't give up. Frank Bruno's legacy isn't just about what he did in the ring, it's about who he became outside of it. After hanging up his gloves, he didn't fade into the shadows. With his big smile and warm personality, he became a fixture in British life, a man people couldn't help but love. But his post-boxing years brought new challenges. Bruno faced mental health struggles that pulled back the curtain on a side of him few had seen. Instead of hiding, he spoke out, sharing his story with a raw honesty that touched lives. In a time when mental health was still a quiet topic, Bruno broke the silence. He talked about his lows, his battles, and how he found his way through them. It wasn't easy, but he leaned on his family, his friends, and his own inner strength. His openness gave others permission to speak, to seek help, to fight their own fights. He turned his pain into purpose, becoming a voice for those who felt alone. Through talks, TV appearances, and charity work, he spread a message of hope, that it's okay to struggle, and it's okay to ask for support. Bruno's impact stretches far beyond boxing. He's a symbol of resilience, a reminder that strength isn't just about winning fights, it's about facing life head-on. He's still out there, lifting others up, showing that a champion's heart beats strongest when it's helping someone else stand. Frank Bruno didn't just leave a legacy as a heavyweight legend, he became a beacon of light, proving that even in our toughest moments, we can find a way to shine.